guys. Welcome to this episode of the podcast. I am not joined by Josh today, if you're watching this and not just listening, but I do have two special guests. We have Ashley Peters and Justin Bauer with us. So Ashley and Justin are two of our newer staff members. They've both been here for a couple months, but we thought this would be a great time to introduce them to our Gateway congregation. They're both in director roles. And so regardless of what campus you're at, you'll probably see them or even have an opportunity to interact with them at different points of time. So we don't always introduce every new staff member on the podcast that comes on, but I thought these two, it would probably be good if our congregation had faces to put with names and got to hear from you guys a little bit. Just about your background and what brought you here and all that stuff. So we will go ahead and just jump in. Just maybe some general information, just a little bio info here about you. Justin, where did you grow up?
Yeah, so I grew up just south of Gateway and Findlay in Arlington, Ohio, so just a few miles down the road. I grew up on a farm. My grandparents were dairy farmers, and then my parents kind of took over after them and are now grain farmers. So I not moved much in my life until I went off to college. So I moved once, and it was a quarter mile down the road because the farm was still there. And so, yeah, so just kind of grew up in this area.
Awesome. When did you come to faith? And you don't have to give us like the whole long story, just kind of abbreviated version there.
Yep. So I grew up in a church in Arlington, and they had like a catechism class and a confirmation class. And so it goes through, asks you questions, asks if you believe. And I do believe that at that time when I answered those questions and I confessed my faith, that I did really mean that. But what I saw is when I hit college, I saw that faith start to become my own. And so it really, really grew when I was in college. I got involved in a church, kind of started to form my own personal relationship.
Mhm.
We see that a lot with kids of at the beginning of their relationship, it's kind of the parents guiding and shepherding that, and then at some point, hopefully, in their spiritual walk, they start to take that into their own personal life, and that's kind of what happened to me in college. So
Yeah. Awesome. Speaking of college, I like to ask this question because very few people on staff majored in something in college that like directly led them to their position here on staff. So what did you major in? Where did you
yep.
go to college and what did you major in?
Yeah, so I went to Ohio State University, the current national champions. Is the big deal right
Hey,
now.
yeah, this will
Uh,
actually release quite a bit after that, but
Still be the
we're
champions
still
then,
gonna be
though.
the national
Yeah.
champs.
Yeah, so yeah, I graduated from Ohio State University with both my bachelor's and I did my master's there as well in community development, but there was a focus on youth development. So I studied and worked on basically how to educate, care, and love kids outside of a school was really what all my classes and things were about, running nonprofits or programs or whatever for kids outside of schools. So.
Mhm. All right. We're gonna swing up there to Ashley. Same question. So Ashley, where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Northwest Indiana, and so it's interesting. I wasn't born in Portage, Indiana, but that's where I graduated high school. My mom still resides there as well, and so if it wasn't Portage, Indiana, it was in one of the kind of neighboring cities around there. So Gary, Valparaiso, Crown Point, Michigan City. Places that of that nature. And yeah, so Portage, Indiana gal.
All right. What's your faith story in a nutshell?
Neither of my parents are believers, and so in some ways grew up in the church, going with my grandparents, and so yeah, had some sort of faith kind of background or knowledge about who God was and things like that. But I wouldn't say like, oh, every Sunday I was at church or grew up in youth group or doing anything of that nature. And so it wasn't actually until going to college where a teammate of mine invited me to a Christian ministry event, and I began hearing kind of similar things that I grew up hearing, but I would say in college, my sophomore year, it took root. And I began, as I was just asking bigger questions about life and faith, and what does it mean or look like to follow Christ, and what does this actually mean for me, and how do I live those things out? And so, yeah, just another college student really sharing the gospel with me as a college student.
Mm-hmm. I think both of your stories speak a lot to college ministry to college students. It's such an influential time for faith development there.
Yeah.
So speaking of college, Ashley, what did you major in, and where did you go?
I went to the University of Southern Indiana, which is in Evansville, Indiana, and I graduated with a communication degree with a emphasis. I wanted to be a dentist, and so I was pre-dental, which doesn't make sense. And it's an interesting story. I feel like people will have to ask me about it later. But I was essentially biology for most of my college career until spring semester of my junior year. I wasn't set that I wanted to be a dentist, and so I was like, crap, well, I don't want to do research, and so I changed to communication, but still had those prereqs in case I was like, yep, I'm going to dental school.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. I don't think most people who want to be a dentist think a communications degree is the route to get there.
Yeah,
But
people don't actually like when dentists speak to them, so it would have maybe been terrible for them, or the best.
That's funny. So Ashley, I am going to let you do this one first. Tell us about your spouse. Where did you meet Lincoln, and how long have you been married? Do you have kids? All that good stuff.
So Lincoln and I actually met while in college. Even though he is from Ohio, went to BGSU, we were involved in the same college ministry in different states, and we met through mutual friends in Orlando, Florida, on a summer project at Universal Studios. And so we were just kind of acquaintances throughout college for a bit. And then when I graduated, I moved to Ohio to work on staff with Campus Outreach, where he was in his last year. And so from acquaintances to friends to coworkers to dating, and now married for 6 years, and we don't have any children. We have a dog. I don't call her my child, but Gemma is pretty great and we love her. And yeah, so that's a little bit about us.
If I remember right, your dog came with Lincoln to pick you up after a rather long mission trip. You'd been gone for quite a while. And is it a girl?
Yeah, Gemma is a
she
girl.
was quite excited.
Yeah, I was coming back from Bangladesh, and I don't even remember what time it was, but Lincoln and Gemma were there. So he may have been more excited than Lincoln. I don't know. You'll have to.
So, Justin, how about you? Where did you meet your spouse? How long have you been married? Kids?
Yeah. So I met Caitlin also through our college ministry. So we were both attending the same church at Ohio State. And we both ended up on a spring break trip to the Smoky Mountains. That was not the trip I even thought I signed up for. So we can tell you that story too, of another time of we both kind of didn't plan to be on that trip, but we ended up both being there. And then afterwards, we just continued to hang out. There was a group of us that would go line dancing and stuff. And so just hang out with each other. And then we both got involved in the church a lot more. And so then we started dating. And then got engaged and got married up until I started my master's. And then we've been married for now, it'll be 7 years this June. And it will be during Vacation Bible School this year that we will be celebrating our 7th anniversary.
And that won't be a stressful week for you at all.
It'll be great. It'll be great. And we do have 2 little energetic munchkins. And so Danny is our daughter. She's the oldest. She's 4, and she's in that stage where she likes to ask lots of questions about life. We're living with my mom and dad right now while we're figuring out building house and everything. And so she likes to ask about the cows and the hamburger we're eating and how are those connected. So that's fun. And then we also have my son, Ben. He's 2, and he's in that stage where he just likes anything shaped like a ball, including Christmas ornaments, and finding ways to hurt himself, as he has done 3 times this week already. And it is a Wednesday. So,
That's funny. Fun fact about Justin is you like I don't even know exactly what it's called, but you call like square dancing or something, right?
yep. So my family has always been really big into square dancing and line dancing. And so I can DJ and call both line dancing and square dancing. Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
I see like maybe a staff activity or something in our future.
Yes,
A little
yes. We'll
dance
see if we can
party.
get everyone on the floor.
All right. So I don't know. Let's kind of move into how you ended up here on staff. I don't know that either of you necessarily had strong aspirations to serve on a church staff initially. Like, I don't think you like set out to be on church staff. So, can you briefly share, Justin, how you came to apply for this role and then eventually accept the position? And I guess I don't know that we even said what your position is, but you are our next gen director. So more heavily involved in Kidway at County Road 9, but technically you are over all of next gen. So birth all the way up through youth is under
Yep,
your responsibility.
yep. So, yeah, so like Laura said, I think I always wanted to be a 4-H educator. That was my goal. I was like in middle school, and I was very heavily involved in 4-H. So that was my goal. So that's kind of what my degree led me to, kind of that nonprofit youth development sort of space. And then after college, I got to be one. So I was a 4-H educator for 3.5 years. And then Ohio State runs 4-H in Ohio. So then my supervisors asked me to apply to a state position. So I was working on campus in Columbus at the state 4-H office and even taught a couple classes. And that kind of thought I had made it like to what I wanted to do. But there was just a number of things over the past few years that I just felt like it wasn't a good fit. There were some things I was having struggles with, and we really were creating a family and we kind of wanted to be around family. And so we have been going through this season of like, what's next? Is this it? So, um, anyway, so my wife and I decided that we wanted to be closer to family and we wanted to figure out what that was. So I started to look at jobs in the Findlay area, and I really desired something that had to do with youth. That was the important for me. I didn't want to lose that. That's my passion. I care about kids, and this position popped up. And I had never really thought about working for a church. Others had encouraged me to do that. I heavily resisted, and I just found the position here at Gateway. I have some family who attends here at Gateway, so we considered it. I talked with my wife. I prayed about it. I wrestled, and we decided to apply. And even when I applied, I did not think I would actually get an interview, let alone an offer. So it was like, we'll apply and we'll see what's in store. And God had a plan. And so then when I did get an interview, we wrestled with it again. Um, but it really came down to everything I was looking for in a job was here, and it was at a church, and that was the thing I was struggling with, of like working for a church and being in ministry. So it really came down to just trusting that this was God's plan and it's what he wanted me to do and to glorify and honor him. And so been here now and love it, and I'm going to keep doing it until he says I shouldn't anymore. So that's kind of just been trusting him that this is where he wants, even though
Sure.
maybe I didn't see it. So
Yep.
Yep.
So Ashley is our Go director. So, and really oversees all things missions related, although again has more of a focus on the international side of things. So Ashley, kind of walk us through how you came to apply. So I think maybe one difference, Ashley has been a part of Gateway, where Justin was coming in sort of from the outside. So what made you
Yeah.
decide to apply?
Yeah, so I mean, I think the more specific answer is what made me apply really was just encouragement of the body of Christ. And so I can think of people within my organization that I previously worked for. But I can also think of people, mentors, and people that have walked alongside of me at Gateway Church as well. And Lincoln, my husband, who really, after, though I clearly didn't go on to be a dentist, but really for the last 10 years have worked in ministry in at the college level at BGSU. And so, in a lot of ways, was already doing ministry and a partner of Gateways. And so, really was just have experienced the opposite end of what it looks like to be cared for by the team and the staff and the church as a whole. And so, when I was up for a assessment time in like late summer, really one of the questions that was if I wasn't in this role and job, what could you see me doing outside of this? And there were a couple of people that put in a church, and I almost was like, I wasn't hurt by it, but I was like, what do you mean? Like, where could you see me within a church working? And kind of we're going through different things, but also I think through that assessment, really, what was really helpful for me was they were, I think, just pointing out different things, giftings, and things that I maybe had seen a little bit and thought was like, oh, everyone in this job has kind of similar pathways and are gifted in this area. But they started to say, no, but you do these things naturally, or you help others in this way. And so, yeah, honestly, I loved the job that I was previously in. And so even after 10 years before that assessment, I was ready to do more years. But really just had an open hand to, Lord, what would you have for me? And I think even within my job with college students, my mind naturally went to the church, which is funny. It was thinking about, man, I'm seeking to equip the next generation, which is who I'm around in college students, but it always was also thinking about, man, wherever I go, whether it's serving with youth Sunday nights, or it's in my life group, or just someone that I meet at church on Sunday morning, man, how do I help them in their next step of what God might have for them, and equipping and mobilizing? And so in a lot of ways, people told me, actually, this makes so much sense for you, that after I did apply, I started to think, this is silly that I never thought of this before. Like, I've known that Kelly's job was up for months, and I never even considered like me applying or doing it. It was just like I'll be praying about it for you guys. Hope you find someone. And so, man, just been so blessed by, man, God's people that have just the empowerment of the power of encouragement of the body of Christ in that sense. So, yeah.
Great. So I guess we did talk just a little bit about what each of your roles are on staff, but if you could, you both have a lot that you're responsible for. So if you were going to just sum up for somebody kind of the main 2 or 3 categories or buckets, if you will, that you're responsible for, what would you tell people? Like when they say, hey, what do you do at Gateway? So Justin, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so there are really 3 buckets that this role has. So bucket 1 is specifically for Kidway across all of our campuses. I'm kind of the lead for our team there. So it is me discerning curriculum, conversations about what our ministries look like, what's the policies and the things that we're engaging with, all of that. How is the team supporting their volunteers, keeping things accountable in Kidway across all campuses, all ages for our Kidway. So then the second bucket is more, I have administrative and leadership responsibilities, like you mentioned, for all of our next gen ministry. So that is from infancy to our youth programs and the youth team there. So it is about how are they feeling supported, navigating their policies as well, ensuring accountability there, as well as like caring for them as staff too is a big one for me, is making sure that our staff in all of our next gen department feel cared for and feel supported.
Mhm.
And then the last bucket is, I think, the one most people associate me with, and that's seeing me on Sunday morning at County Road 9 coordinating elementary. So
Mhm.
I directly coordinate our elementary ministry at the County Road 9 campus. So that's organizing the weekly volunteers, the lessons, the supplies, those types of things. And then on Sunday morning, being down at Kidway, running where I need to go, covering subs where I need to cover subs, and all of those things every Sunday. So
Sometimes being the sub.
yes,
Get
yes,
to learn some dance moves on the fly. Last
I
Sunday
did
or a
this.
couple Sundays ago?
Yeah, it was last Sunday. Is it just happens 6th season, people get sick, and so it just didn't make sense for me to ask a couple people. So I went up on stage and led the dances and everything on Sunday morning. So it was
Yeah.
good. It was fun.
That's great.
Man, I need to get in a Kidway, or at least get a fly on the wall to get to witness some of these things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun.
It is a fun place to be. Ashley, how about you? If you were going to sum up in like kind of 2 or 3 big broad categories what you're responsible for, what would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the main pieces kind of that you mentioned already, Laura, though there's global, there's local, regional, and then there's college. And my main focus is primarily overseeing the global piece. And so ensuring and looking over strategic partnerships that we currently have or future ones, seeking to plan, help execute, and oversee mission trips that are going primarily abroad, and then also looking to send our own people. And then a caveat to those things is working alongside of a awesome Go team. And so looking to also make gospel impact locally, regionally, and also at the college level as well. And then some other things I would say is looking to really just cast vision and mobilize the church as a whole. And so that can be through a variety of different events that we do, all the way down from them actually getting to talk to or be with a partner, whether that be locally, regionally, or globally, coming to visit, or things like the Go celebration, or we have Ramadan upcoming, or the Go conference, where a lot of partners. And so helping really to expose people to opportunities that they can be a part of what God is doing around them. And so a lot of talking to partners that are across the world at different hours of the day, all the way down to, helping and getting to be a part of things like mobile food pantries with Ed, and going to UF and BG with Luke as well. So
I remember during your interview process saying something about, sometimes the hours for this role are a little you need to be a little flexible, because when a global partner is awake and able to do a Zoom call, it might be kind of late at night for you. And I remember you were just like, well, I work with college students.
Yeah.
So it's not really gonna be a problem.
Yeah. So it's like, 1 a.m., let's rock and roll. I don't know if I'm that way anymore. Now I'm like, man, I can go to bed at 9.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I think I said this at the start of the episode. You actually both have been on staff for several months now. We were blessed to be able to do some overlapping with the people that you were replacing as they were getting ready to leave staff and to move on to what's next for them. So in that time, what is one thing that I'm going to ask 2 questions. One thing you've recognized that's great about your ministry area that you absolutely want to make sure you keep doing, you keep investing in. And then one thing that you've identified as a possible area for growth or change in the future, and this is not like making any big announcements about any changes coming up, but just something that you're like,
Okay.
"Yeah, I've kind
Want
of
to
noticed
update you
it."
guys.
We both know I don't like surprises. So
Yeah,
don't
I
have
was just about to say,
surprises on
Laura
the
does not want
podcast.
a surprise here on the podcast.
So yeah, Justin, how about you take we'll do them, you just take both questions. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So yeah, so I think the thing that I have loved and appreciated that is just amazing in this role has been, uh, and I've only seen this year, but this year of our volunteers on Sunday mornings. They are showing up. They care deeply. They are praying. They are so invested in the kids in our church, and it just continues to blow me away, the regular commitment that our church has to kids right now. And it's just, it amazes me every Sunday. And so then it's, how do I keep that going is the question. There's volunteer burnout, there's things that happen, and so how do we keep encouraging volunteers, supporting them, making the job simple but effective, giving them some ownership, but also making sure we're being accountable across the board. And so it's just kind of those things. It's great, and so I just continue to think about how to keep that amazing piece going.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the one. And then the growth that the team and feedback and parents that we've had a lot of conversation about are, what are ways that we can care about the whole family, right? So like, we're investing into kids Sunday morning, but a family is a unit, and it could be single mom, single dad, parents, whatever, older siblings. But what events, what challenges, what things outside of a Sunday morning, maybe equip classes, all these types of things are ways that we can disciple a family and equip a family, so that Jesus just isn't Sunday morning for these kids,
Mm-hmm.
that Jesus is every day, and there are disciplines and practices and habits and routines that continually point kids back to Jesus, that the family is setting as a habit or culture, or just this position of grace at his feet. And so that's kind of where our heart's been at. What that looks like, still figuring out exactly, but
Sure.
we are really excited for that space to
Mm-hmm.
grow. So
Mm-hmm. Great. How about you, Ashley, with the Go Ministry?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that I personally have loved and like want to just keep doing it. I mean, I love getting to be with the people and getting to like be in kind of the nitty-gritty with them, whether that be, hey, yeah, let's go on this trip together, or hey, let's serve in this area together. But the times that I've gotten to get coffee with people or lunch that are coming from a variety of different places, whether it be, and hey, I've gotten to go on multiple mission trips. Like, what would it look like to maybe lead one upcoming? Or I've never been on one, and I'm maybe haven't been on one for a variety of different reasons, whether that be fear as one. And I think it's been really cool and encouraging to just, man, hear people's stories and where they're at as it pertains to, man, even getting to be a participant in God's heart for the world, but also learning about those things as well. Like, has God called me here? What does that look like for me to go? But helping people take steps wherever they are, whether it be in their workplace, whether it be locally, whether it be regionally, and honestly just praying with people. Like, man,
Mm-hmm.
what would it look like for us to just begin praying, man, that God would soften your heart to things that maybe you haven't thought about before, or man, God would make clear maybe what a next step would be, or presenting opportunities for people to take, man, the next step, even if it's small, like it's still a step. And so,
Mm-hmm.
man, I've loved just getting to walk alongside of people in that way and talk about, man, God's heart for
Mm-hmm.
the world, like, and how they
Yeah.
can be participants in that. And then I think on the other end, one thing that would just love, I think a question being asked is more of, even in light of at the elder-led prayer service recently, getting to commission the greens. It was so, I mean, it was so cool. Like, for that to be the first thing that I got to be a part of, like, was insane, but also for other people to get to witness as well. And so I think, man, that's something that's like, how do we give other people avenues to go? And I think more people will go abroad, but also more people are going to go locally and regionally as well. And so just continuing to celebrate those things and like walk alongside of people in those things, but then also a question of what does go look like in every area of our lives, and then also within the church. And so some of that's just been like, man, I've enjoyed getting to, talk with Justin, with Next Gen, or Joe with life groups, and other people of just like, hey, what does this look like? How can we collaborate with one another so that it is from youth all the way to like retired, like creating a culture of people that just live on mission wherever the Lord kind of has them. And so currently looking to develop and implement a sending pathway that's training and equipping our own members at Gateway Church to go, whether that be locally, regionally, or internationally.
Yeah. Well, thanks guys for your time today. I actually wanted to end with maybe a little bit of encouragement for each of you, and just kind of from me as the executive director sharing what I'm excited about with these two new staff members. And with Ashley, the sending pathway that she talked about is actually something that we've Kelly and I have been talking about for a while. He had gotten started working on it, and then we hadn't had a chance to develop it. And so I think as you've listened to this podcast, I'm pretty confident that Ashley's heart for figuring out how to help people to know what their next step is has been crystal clear. And that is, we had great candidates for both of these roles, but I think that probably is what really sold me or sold us on Ashley, is like, well, this is where we want the Go ministry to be growing. And she's just a natural fit there. Just naturally able to connect with people and build relationships and help them to see what those opportunities might be, and give a little challenge and a push. So I'm excited to see the fruit of that over the next several years, to see how people are challenged and encouraged to step out and take those next steps. And I think for Justin, from day one, I was always telling Justin, like, you're going to bring an energy to our Next Gen ministry that is just going to be, I think, contagious. And so I'm excited about that. I'll tell you, I used to be in that role, and I never got up on stage and did the dance moves. So.
It's you on the wall.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Yeah. So I am just really thrilled that both of you are here. I think our church is blessed that you're here. Hopefully, if you haven't had a chance to meet either or both of these, of Ashley and Justin, that you'll, next time you see them, stop, introduce yourself. They would both love to meet you. Justin may pull you in, and you might find yourself teaching a Gateway class.
Yeah.
So, and Ashley will have you on the next mission trip.
Come on.
What's that?
I said, come on.
Oh, come on. Yep. So thanks again, guys, for being here. Next week, Josh will be back, and we're going to continue looking at the Westminster Confession of Faith. So hope you'll join us then. Thank you.